the heck is up, everybody? Welcome back into the Story Motors podcast. My name is Robert. That is Mike.
Hello.
And who is this?
Hello, it's Madeline. How are you
Madeline,
guys?
aka MadExposure.
That's me.
It is Madeline, and she is the queen of horror, which is why we brought her here today to talk about the wonderful world of Hello Kitty video games. So,
Perfect.
Scary
Hello
to many.
Kitty Island Adventure just got announced today, right?
Wow.
Super hyped.
Now, today we're going to talk
to
about
dog lovers.
horror games. What's up?
It's scary to dog lovers, maybe.
That I didn't even know that was a real game, honestly. And then in the Nintendo thing today, they're like, by the way, it's coming out tomorrow or next year. I don't remember when. I was only half paying attention at that point. But yeah, no, we are talking about horror in video games and horror video games in general with someone who is a lot less scared than Mike and I.
Yeah.
I'm still scared, but I just like being scared.
Yeah, she faces her fears like Kingdom Hearts 3. And we don't.
Exactly.
It's a theme song to... It's one of the theme songs in Kingdom Hearts 3. Get on my level, Mike. Okay?
Okay.
Fucking sitting over there on your high horse.
It's a queen-size bed.
Close enough. All right? With your dogs that are adorable.
Trying to get baby grandpa to get up on the bed, but he just refuses to.
Well, you know what? Baby grandpa's retired, bud. All right, he put his time in the war. Which war?
Baby grandpa used to manage a doggy daycare. It was great. He would just go strutting around and, like, bark at the bigger dogs. Just be like, this is my place. Thank you. You're a guest here. And then one day he just came home and never went back to work.
Oh no.
He's somewhere between
petting Oliver, and I looked over here, and then I went to pet him again, and he's disappeared. Whoa.
Horror. Spooky.
Whoa.
Ghost dogs.
Yeah, but Madeline, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know that you stream a bit. You're in the KF community. You are awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Oh, you guys are awesome too. Yeah, so I do a little bit of streaming. I'm at MadExposure everywhere. I like horror games. I like story games. So pretty much anything that's going to get me to like cry or be scared, I'm like in on. Love games of all kinds. I just recently, I guess it was last year, played through all of The Last of Us, Part 1, Part 2. That was scary and emotional, so hit all those beats right there. Probably my favorite game of all time is Until Dawn, one of my favorite horror games. And that's a good one for people who aren't maybe necessarily like super into horror as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
I definitely have some of that in the little bit of notes that I do have. That is one that I've written up here. So
yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
But I also just love like choice-based games. Actually, that's how I got into listening to Kinda Funny, is when Detroit Become Human came out.
Yeah.
I was just like trying to look up podcasts that were going to talk about Detroit Become Human, and I found them, and that was like in 2017, I think. And then I've just been a KFBF since then and met so many cool people like y'all.
Yay! Mike has no idea what Kinda Funny is. I just talk about it all the time.
By association.
Yeah, that's pretty much what he knows about it.
Yep.
So, by the way, Mike is recording on, what is that? It's an iPad, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and what, just like earbuds
Yep.
for the mic. So if he sounds worse and or better, if he sounds better, let us know, and he'll just keep doing this.
Yeah, I'll figure out how to get the better earpiece for the left one, because right now it's bugging the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But
You're like the dad at the weddings who like films the whole wedding on his iPad. It's like up here like this.
if
I'm
you want
also
me to,
a photographer. Go ahead.
I can flip this camera around and chase the dogs around if you really want me to go full on dad mode.
Yes.
We might have to do that at some point tonight.
Perfect.
But
Just let me know.
not just yet. Not just yet. So, before we get into it, Mike, how have you been? What have you been doing? Have you been playing anything? I know you're at the lady's house.
Yes, I'm down at my girlfriend's house. My PS4 is here,
Nice.
along with pretty much all of my story-focused single-player games. So, I upgraded my. Of course, you're drinking a Fanta.
It's
Um,
the only good kind of Fanta in the world. It's
Why is it so tall?
it's German Fanta from the
Oh.
motherland.
alrighty. So many jokes that I could be making, but I'm just not gonna.
It's the best
I'm
Fanta
gonna
in the
go
world.
ahead
Um,
and move along.
so you've got
Yeah,
our
I've been
single
playing
player
through.
games.
Yeah, and I've been playing through Fallout 4, so that's been real fun.
You doing mods or
Keep
no
forgetting I
mods?
have no mods.
Okay.
I really don't want to try to install mods on the console version on the PS4 because it just feels like it's going to be really janky and not great. So
I mean, I'd played with mods on the Xbox One, but I think
yeah,
they just worked better on Xbox that I've heard.
yeah, yeah, they
And I think
work
you had more
better.
space to do stuff as well, so you could actually download more than like two things.
Yeah, um, they work better, and there are a lot more. So like the good quality of life improvement mods, those are all over the place on Xbox.
Hmm.
Didn't see them when I was looking through on the PlayStation one, but whatever, it's neither here nor there. But yeah, I've been playing through it, been enjoying it. So
Nice.
yeah,
I mean, Fallout 4 is a fucking great game.
it's been fucking great. I keep forgetting. So I was just getting absolutely destroyed by just hordes of ghouls. And I'm like, man, I really wish I had more armor. I have power armor.
Yep.
I go get my power armor. I'm like, hey, I can at least clear this place out before the fusion core that I have dies. Nope, I have a dozen.
Yeah.
I have just picked up
Amazing.
a dozen.
You
I'm
just
like,
shit
oh,
those things out in Fallout 4.
yeah. I'm like, well, this is what I'm doing the rest of the goddamn game.
Yeah, like they added the fusion core mechanic in 4, being like, oh, you can't just use it willy nilly. You gotta have a fusion core, and then they just give you 12 fusion cores every 10 feet.
Yeah,
So
But they're so
like,
heavy. I am always over encumbered in Fallout constantly. I can't not be over encumbered. I
yeah,
wish they would make them less heavy.
I mean
I
they
am.
do in actually I don't know if is there a perk in 4 to make them less heavy on the perk
Uh,
tree.
I know there are perks to like just increase your like carrying
Yeah,
capacity.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
like,
It's like a mule one or something. Or
yeah.
like
Like mule gives you like more. You can hold more stuff, but in 76 there's a perk. There's a couple perks. There's one for ballistic ammo, and then one for energy ammo, which fusion cores fall under. And when you have them maxed out each, uh, they weigh 90% less.
damn,
So when I'm holding 4 fusion cores instead of 12 pounds, it's 10% of that.
1.2 pounds.
Sure, I guess. You know,
Yep.
but yeah, they just added another. Well, I don't know when this was added, but I just got it a little bit ago. A little device that you can just charge fusion cores in your camp in 76.
What?
Yeah, so
Hell
like
yeah.
it holds up to 4, so you put 4 in there, and they just charge while you're out and about. And then when you're out, you just come back. You got 4 fresh fusion cores. But
God
before
for
damn.
the environment.
I had that perk that made them 90% less. So I was running around with like 25 fusion cores.
Jeez. Got
And then I
this
had
25 on you.
then I had another perk where getting hit by energy weapons had like a 15% chance of charging my fusion core.
Amazing.
So I just ended up never needing to use any of the 25. But
All right.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a weird game and I love it. Madeline, what have you been doing? What have you been playing or
I
watching?
have been thinking about getting into Fallout 76 because I'm a really big Fallout fan. New Vegas is my favorite.
Hell yeah.
And I was replaying it, but it's so old that I was like, I was loving it still, but it just, you can feel how old it is
Mhm.
when you're playing it, just with how clunky it is. But I am scared to play Fallout 76 because I just don't know if I'll like it. But I keep being like, it's only like $10 in the PlayStation
Oh
store. I
yeah.
should just like buy
Yeah.
it and
Yeah.
just try it out.
I maybe I'm wrong. I think it's on PlayStation Plus, one of the tiers as well.
Yeah, it's on the second tier, like
On the
whatever
second
that
tier of
is.
PlayStation Plus. Okay.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's how I
Yeah.
got it in Fallout 4. So
Yeah. But I've been playing on PlayStation for like the past month because all of my other time was on Xbox, and I just jumped on the PlayStation character about a month ago and put in about 100 hours so far. Almost level
It's
150.
crazy.
Just I fucking
nice.
I love that game. But yeah, if you do want to play it on PlayStation or Xbox, honestly anything, let me know.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
hit you up for sure.
I can shepherd you around like I do with some other people.
Yeah, I
Maybe
would
you
love
want
that.
steel power armor. Nick
Yep.
Scofield.
Maybe I will. We'll see.
Maybe you will.
Keep it a
Who
surprise.
knows?
So
That's
yeah, I've been thinking about playing that. I haven't hit the bullet on that. I They have so many games like in my backlog, and then for some reason I was just like, who cares about that? I'm gonna start a new playthrough of Baldur's Gate 3, the
There you
Dark
go.
Urge version.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing.
Fuck yeah.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
That's
It doesn't
never.
matter that I have all these other games that would take way less time. I'm just gonna jump back into the hundreds of hours game again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason not to play Baldur's Gate 3, unless you can't afford it, and then don't
Yeah.
maybe don't rob someone to get it.
Yeah.
But it's been cool because I didn't even know about the Dark Urge thing, and it's added so many different things that I feel like I'm honestly, I was telling my husband, like, I was like, I honestly feel like all of this is new again.
Mm.
Also because it was so many hours ago that I played it for the first time, but then also like there's so many new little twists, like for the very beginning of the game, like I didn't know what the dark urges were, so if you like walk up to Gale at the very beginning, it's like you can think about chopping off his hand, and then you actually do it, and then he's just gone. Like he's gone, I guess, for the rest of the game. So I was like, well, that's interesting. I guess we'll see what happens.
I mean, then you don't have to worry about feeding him.
Yeah.
Also, I don't like Gale, so I do not miss him.
That's fair. Yeah, I feel like the internet loves Gale and Shadowheart, and those are like my two least favorite characters.
I like Shadowheart. I feel like her character growth is great. Like she starts out kind of bitchy and like
Oh yeah,
a
she
little
starts out
racist.
super racist. Yeah,
Yeah.
she starts out as fucking Ashley Williams from Mass Effect, 100%.
Yeah, exactly. But Gale just is annoying. I just don't get. I don't get him. But I love everybody else.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Lae'zel.
He's just a baddie.
Or like Bazel, am I right? High five.
Hey.
Got it. Okay, we did it. There we go. Boom. Boom.
Episode
Got you.
over.
Yeah, so while Mike takes us.
Wanders around his house and figures out what the dogs are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike
these
is
little-
Mike is giving a tour of a home as a boomer. Like with the
Hold
camera
on.
on him, and he's going to be like, "Look at these decorations, Margaret."
Look at the crown molding.
Yeah.
Hold on. Ira. Otto.
Otto does not want to be on camera.
Yeah, Otto says no to that.
Yeah, well,
What?
wow.
Why do you gotta be a hater, baby grandpa? Yes.
Speaking of Ashley Williams from Mass Effect, did you hear the fucking mouth on that dog? Jesus.
Right?
God.
I gotta give him
Well-
treats. So he shuts up.
Well, while Mike does that, let's jump headlong into our topic. Just horror in video games, survival horror, whatever you wanna call it, whatever you want to talk about. Madeline is very much like when I think of like horror games and not even just horror games, but kind of like you said, those like the story-driven choice games and stuff, specifically the Until Dawns, the Quarry and stuff. I think of MadExposure. I don't know
I
why,
love that.
but I do.
I love it.
I think it's because I've seen you stream a couple of different things before. And I also think of my good friend Jeff, who loves those games too, but
Yep.
he doesn't watch or listen to the podcast, so he'll never know how much I
That
love him.
son of a bitch.
Get out of here, Jeff.
Yep. But Madeline, tell me your kind of just let's start with your favorite horror game, or even if it's not a horror game, just your favorite horror kind of moments in video games.
Sure. So I think I mentioned earlier, my favorite horror game is Until Dawn. And I think that's because I came into horror through movies first. I think I kind of got into gaming and horror like a lot later in my life, but I've always been a big fan of horror movies. So when I found out about Until Dawn, I was like, this is my perfect video game. It's like a horror movie, but I get to make all of the choices and I get to do everything that I yell at the screen. And I think it's still one of the best executions of that idea and that melding of film and video games, because you have a lot of agency within the game, but there also is a lot of those cinematic moments, and the acting is really good, and there's some genuine really good scares. And I think actually the plot of the game, which I guess I won't really spoil because it goes through places in case anyone out there hasn't played it. It's a really interesting, like, well done plot. So I think all of those.
I would say a great horror plot. Like a great slasher kind of horror movie plot. Like it's fairly, kind of simple, like on the top level, and then you kind of learn more and more about what's going on, and the twists and everything. Which once again we won't really spoil, but Until Dawn I think is a great interactive movie, fun game, but great interactive movie.
And they are actually making a movie of it, which I'm so curious what that's gonna look like. Because there are so many different endings and options. They just announced half of the cast, I think, today or yesterday. So I'm very curious what that's going to look like as just a straight movie.
Yeah. So the movies, which are the basis for the game, which is now becoming a movie.
Yes.
Which will then become the basis for another game. And a movie.
We're going to get a Street Fighter the movie, the game situation.
Yeah. But that was that's definitely probably my first love. But I have a lot of other games that I really enjoy. I'm also a really big Alan Wake fan, which some people think that's, I don't know. The term horror is such a broad thing. I would definitely consider the Alan Wake games horror, but I know some people wouldn't. I think a lot of times there's like a really specific genre of horror games that people think of when they think horror games, which is like the Resident Evil or the Silent Hill kind of game, or maybe like Amnesia or something. But I think there's such a wide variety of things that are horror. But Alan Wake was definitely probably like my second horror game love, just because it mixes so much, similar to Until Dawn, although a little bit more of like a traditional game. But I really love all of the film influences. Like, I'm a really big film lover. So all of the like David Lynch influences, all of the Stephen King influences. And I also find like the flashlight to gun gameplay like really fun and fresh for me specifically. I'm not like the best shooter person, but I do feel like that mixture up of it, of having to hit them with the flashlight and then shoot them, is like makes for really engaging gameplay, and also the sort of scarcity of resources thing that you can always find in a good survival horror, right? Like not knowing if you have enough batteries and all of that stuff. And they play so much with light and darkness that you're always kind of on the edge of your seat, like, ooh, am I gonna make it to the next light spot? What's in the shadows? Like, I think it's so fun.
Oh yeah. Like, the thing I love about a lot of horror games is like resource management.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you need to acknowledge this.
We're We're just laying in bed with Mike whispering sweet nothings to us. So
Talking about how resource management goes
Yeah.
from very annoying in some other games to being like a key element of horror in some of these survival horror games. It's just like,
and if I remember correctly,
start-
Alan Wake 1 had the Energize. No, it was Duracell batteries. Right?
Yes,
It was like
specifically,
that tie-in,
branded.
and it was really kind of awkward. You gotta just keep finding the fucking
Yeah.
batteries. Alan Wake is a game that I bought when it first came out, the very first one. I played for probably about 8 hours. I couldn't get into it. And I think for the most part, it was the actual gameplay itself, because just from what I was playing kind of at the time, doing a lot of like first person shooter stuff. I was more into those. And then this was like the slower, you're looking around, you're investigating, and then the gun flashlight, gameplay was a bit like way too different for me. But it's one I've wanted to go back to, and I want to play Alan Wake 2, but I feel like I have to understand Alan Wake 1 to get Alan Wake 2.
I definitely understand that, and I think that's what pushed a lot of people away from it, because I do think, like, for me, as someone who, I would say for most things, like, I'm story first and then, like, gameplay second. Like, I will deal with a clunky game to get a good story out of it, and I think that's definitely true for Alan Wake 1, and even the remaster, which I did play when it came out a couple years ago. Maybe that was that a couple, it doesn't matter. And it still feels a little old, even with the remaster. So I don't know if I would tell you to play it. Like, it might even just be worth, like, reading about, like, watching an explains video of the plot and then going into Alan Wake 2. Because I do think, personally, for me, Alan Wake 2 feels a lot less clunky. It's a little smoother. I think they learned a lot from Control, which was super fun to play. And a lot smoother.
I played the absolute fuck out of Control like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Because they put it on Xbox Game Pass, and I was just like, oh yeah, I remember a lot of people liking this game, so I'm going to try it out. And I think I knew that there was a link to Alan Wake, but just I didn't know what it really was. So I pretty much went into Control just to play Control. And, I mean, talk about a game that's not necessarily a horror game, but has, like, definite horror vibes and horror elements.
Yes.
That's Control.
Exactly.
Like, some of the shit, like, I'm trying to think. I don't think this is like a main story thing, but it's like a side story. With the refrigerator.
Yeah.
And how there's the whole premise of Control is you're in the Bureau of Control with essentially like a almost, to boil it down to a base term, haunted objects, or haunted things. And you stumble, or as you're walking through, there's kind of displays with all these different things. And in one room, there's a refrigerator, like an old refrigerator, and there's just a person sitting in front of it. And he yells out to you, and he's like, can somebody get me? Somebody's supposed to come get me 8 hours ago. If we take our eyes off of this thing, bad things will happen. So I haven't been able to leave or take my eyes off this thing for so long. Because there's shit going on in the building, and nobody was able to go get this guy. So he's been sitting staring at a fucking fridge for 16, 20 hours.
Jeez.
You can hear the edge in his voice, too. Yeah. Like, he's on the brink.
Yeah. And then you decide, like, you're like, yeah, I can help you. I can come in and help you. And then in the 2 seconds it takes for you to go around the corner and go into the room, he blinked or something. You go in the room, he's just gone. Like, and that's like a side story, like a little mini boss thing. Because then you fight the fridge. It's got arms, and it's got like a mascot face.
So it's like Shaquille O'Neal.
Pretty much, yeah.
All right.
Well, and then, like, the little mini episodes of, like, the Threshold Kids, which is, like, this TV show that you can find within the universe. That's terrifying. That is some nightmare
that
fuel.
Out until right now. I watch them all, like, and they're terrifying.
Puppets. They sing this, like, high-pitched song, like, Threshold Kids, threshold kids. It's so scary.
There's
I do think Remedy is doing like something so different, and one of the reasons I really like their games is like they really are just like bringing in all of this stuff I don't think like see anyone else doing, and all of these really creepy little touches and
yeah.
unique things like the refrigerator, all these little spooky stories. And I think Alan Wake 2 and Alan Wake 1 are like that too, where you just find these little pockets of story that are so alarming, whether it be like a text-based thing that you're just reading, or yeah, a random encounter with a person. There's so much like there to dig in that's just really unsettling.
Yeah. And I think that's the best word for it, is unsettling. With some of the things, it's not just, you know, the Resident Evil where it's you're walking through a building and there's zombies that are attacking you, you know, and then the dog jumps through the window, which it's scary, you know, jump scares and everything, but that's a really and not to sound, you know, rude or anything, like that's a basic, this is a horror movie premise. There's zombies, I kill zombies. I stop person from making more zombies, you know. But in a game like Control, where you don't even know why the character, like your main character, has even come here, you're just essentially like, you start the game and you're in the building. Like you were drawn here for whatever reason, you're looking for your brother. Why are you here? How have you never seen this place in the city before? Like, and you learn more and more about where you're at and what you're doing as you explore. And the more you explore, the more you learn. And the more you learn, the creepier it is. Like the fucking threshold kids. God.
Yes. The threshold kids. So I definitely recommend, I mean, maybe try the Alan Wake remaster, but I definitely recommend playing Alan Wake 2. I think it feels a little bit better to me.
Okay.
And Control is also amazing. But I would be remiss if I did not bring up what I think is maybe one of the scariest games of all time, which is Alien Isolation.
Oh,
That game is not. No one should make that game again because it's too scary. I've never felt that fear before.
I
Well,
get it confused. Isolation was the one that was always good, right?
Yes.
Because there was the other Alien game that came out recently that the AI
Colonial
was terrible
Marines.
until... Was that Colonial Marines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the
So,
AI
like,
was terrible
people had
because
to
somebody
go-
put an S in there or something. Because they didn't know how
Yeah, like
the word was plural.
Yeah, like somebody had to go, like people had to go in and fix the code to make the game not awful.
Yeah. But
Which is
Isolation...
tragic.
Isolation is... You don't play as a character from the movie, do you? I haven't
No,
played
you play as Ripley's daughter. So
Okay.
you start as Ripley's daughter, and basically like they get a signal from the Nostromo, and they're like, you should go see what it is. Like it's very like vague, right? Like an alien, like in the Alien movies. They're like, yeah, go check it out. And of course, like once you go there, mayhem happens and you get stuck on the spaceship. Like there's like an explosion, you can't get back to your original ship, so you get to the ship, and once you're on there, you see that there people have been living here, but like there's obviously something has gone amiss. Like there's been anarchy even amongst the people and the like androids. So you're kind of have like it is very isolating because you have like no friendly things to help you. Like the people want to kill you, the androids want to kill you, and then of course the big fucking alien wants to kill you too.
Mhm.
So you are like really, it's extreme resource management. You have to hide. You cannot make a lot of noise, so it's really hard to defend yourself if you ever want to use any guns or anything like that. You have to be like extremely strategic about how you approach things. Like every encounter is a puzzle. And the AI of the alien is incredibly smart, so if you hide in the same place multiple times, it will directly go to that place to try to get you because it remembers like where you've been.
That's well, that's terrible. I don't want to.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't want to deal with any of that. I mean, kudos
No.
to the developers, but what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah. It is a very scary game, and I think I might be mistaken on this, so listeners, you can fact check me. I think there's also a function you can enable where like if you make noise, your controller picks it up and then like that also alerts alien. I know that's a thing that some games have. I feel like if
Yeah.
I'm remembering correctly, it does have that as well. So you're
Oh
also like
no.
Like
can't
that, or
be
like
too
a
loud.
headset. I know there was I don't remember what game it was, but there's definitely been a game or games where you wear a headset, and if you make like noise, like when I'm scared, like the bad
No.
guys inside the game hear it. Can't remember, or maybe that's one that's coming out, and that's kind of the whole premise of it. I'm not entirely
Yeah,
sure.
maybe.
Manhunt did that.
Oh yeah,
This
Oh
whole
yeah.
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 You had to like sneak
Yeah,
around and
that
stuff,
was
and yeah. But the kind of gameplay loop of Alien Isolation, like kind of hiding and having to, manage resources and everything reminds me of another game that I played that I was really terrified of. Outlast. Y'all ever play Outlast?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's a rough
Nope.
one.
Hi, buddy.
Yeah. Outlast is it's first person. You're a reporter who gets a story about like a mental asylum and weird, crazy like shit and heinous shit happening there, and you decide to go and investigate. And the entire game, you don't. There's no combat. You can't. People can fucking hit you and they can kill you and they can grab you, but you don't have any way of hitting back. So all you can do is hide. And then you're also trying to, for a flashlight, you've got a camera, and then the camera
Oh
also has
god.
batteries, and batteries run out, but there's just batteries for this specific camera all around the building because
Hmm.
why not? Um, but yeah, I mean that's also your flashlight. So if you're out of batteries and you're trying to sneak around, you know, you're just in the dark. And there were plenty of times in that game where you're running away from like a baddie in an area and you hide, and then I'm hiding in like a closet or I'm hiding under a bed, just waiting to be like, okay, I think I can go out now. Nope, I think I heard something. I think I heard, and then I'm just hiding there for 10 minutes.
For so long, yeah.
And then
That's
like the
exactly like
guy in the
Alien
game is essentially
Isolation.
like, what did you just like leave? What? Where are you? Like making fun of me. But yeah, Outlast is one of those games that is just it's the idea of danger, and it's like that feeling of being helpless. If you get caught in that game,
Yeah.
you just get fucked on.
Hmm.
And even at some points in the game, you get fucked on. I think you get like your finger or something cut off. I can't remember exactly, but it's a
Ugh.
first. You're strapped to a chair and you look down at your hand while some dude cuts your finger off, and it's
Hmm.
I feel like horror games have an issue with hands. Because
yeah,
I also think about RE7
Mhm.
and poor Ethan Winters gets his hand mutilated constantly.
just all the time.
Just constantly. You can chop off your own hand in Until Dawn as well. In The Quarry, you can chainsaw off someone else's hand. I feel like horror and hands, we don't. They just said, "What can we do? Chop off your hand."
Like you look at the hand and you're like, those are my most delicate things.
Yes,
And even some games that aren't necessarily horror games also fuck with hands, like Elden Ring and the goddamn hand creatures
the giant
Ugh.
hands.
with like 28 fingers. Like, what are you doing? And they just like pop up out of the ground. I had a friend like in a gaming community who just couldn't play that part of the game. It was just like that was like
It's
a
very
phobia, and they're like,
spooky.
I guess I'm just not finishing this game.
Well, do you have to kill the hands to proceed?
I think you just have to
Because
get
I thought it was
past
like
them.
open world.
Yeah, yeah, but I think there's something in that area that you need for the game, unless I'm mistaken. But it was just like I can't even see that shit. So I think they missed, or like at least missed something in the game because they just that was way too much. Which I fucking get. Those hands were creepy, and I'm
Yeah.
not even terrified of
Oh.
hands. I have hands. 2, 3. There's another one on the wall, actually, right there. It's a thumb.
Hey.
Perfect.
It's an Orange Cassidy thumb. Yeah. So So, I mean, speaking of, you brought up Ethan Winters and his dumb hands in Resident Evil. You ever get
Yeah.
into the Resident Evil series?
So I've played a little bit of 7 and a little bit of 2. Resident Evil is one of the horror franchises that I really like watching, but I get
Hmm.
too stressed out playing. So I actually, like, funny story, I watched my husband play Resident Evil 7, and at the beginning, he's looking for his wife. Even just before he even gets into the house, he experiences a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's like wading through the sewer, like floating dead bodies and all sorts of shenanigans. And my husband, we're playing. I'm watching him play, and he turns to me and he's like, "I just don't love you this much." And I said, "You wouldn't do this for me?" And he said, "No,
Amazing.
I would not. I would not." And I was like, "That's fair. I don't think I could do it for you either."
Like, you know
Because
what?
Ethan Winters goes through some shit
Yeah.
for his
Yeah.
wife, only for her to cut off his hand.
Like, the moment he sees her. And then she's like, why are you here? You called me here. No, I didn't. Then, like, at that point, you're like, you know what?
The sickos who play RE7 VR, what's wrong with you? I need to know your medical diagnosis because that game is scary enough just looking at a TV where you can turn it off. Stuck on your head, I would go insane. I think I would
Yeah.
literally lose my mind.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, and there's also, I remember the trailer, or the teaser, the playable teaser for Resident Evil 7 when it first dropped, and people were like, the fuck, this isn't Resident Evil, this is first person. And it wasn't actually like a part of the game, it was like in the area, and I think it was something that took place before the events of the game. But I remember playing that one and being like, this is definitely a departure, and it ramps up the horror, it ramps up like the terror and the tension is what I'm thinking of. When you are just that you're first person, you can't see everything around you at all times. You can't see what's behind you with just the camera angle, and it's something that I don't think everybody thought they were going to pull it off, and they did. And then they
I
did
think
Resident Evil Village, and they gave us a giant lady.
a vampire
So,
mommy.
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that.
I think, like, 2 is kind of my touchstone for like traditional Resident Evil. And I really enjoyed playing that, even though it was very scary. And then 7 is kind of like my modern one because I never got around to playing Village. And I think by the time I was gonna play it, I had seen too much online of
Yeah.
like all of the different villains and everything. So I was like, okay, I think I have a pretty good understanding of this game. But they're definitely 2 very different types of horror. Like, I definitely lean more towards the 7 for myself because like we were talking about, it's more atmospheric. I feel like it's more unsettling. Like, you're like, it's very much a sense of dread and like constant feeling like there's something over your shoulder. Whereas like I don't feel that quite as much as 2. 2 is like more stressful. Like, I just have to get away from this thing. Like, I have to
Yeah.
I only have this amount of bullets. And I definitely lean more towards like atmospheric and like dread than like stress, I guess.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
You play 2 and you just think, oh, this giant Mr. X bitch is somewhere.
He's obsessed with me.
Like, come on, dude. Like,
Yeah.
take the hint. No, thank you.
Take the hint, man.
Yeah.
Mike, what are your horror game touchstones? What do you have there?
I vividly remember like being over at my buddy's house when he got the first Resident Evil, and us playing that in a weekend and just being terrified little children. Because it was so different than everything that we had played up until that point. Like we'd played games with, like little jump scares or spooky moments, but this was like, actually really scary as shit. Like when you're a fat little child, everything's terrifying, but then, and also Resident Evil 2, that was like, those are the 2 big ones for me, because playing those on my OG PlayStation and making my little brother watch me play Resident Evil 2 and scaring him. Yeah, he was terrified.
Yeah. Yeah, growing up, my best friend David, who still my best friend, went to a concert with him 2 days ago.
Nice.
He was huge into the Resident Evil games. Still loves them and everything. But I just remember he had a PlayStation, and I remember him getting Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the fake Resident Evil 3. Fucking fight me. And like in my memory, and maybe I'm wrong. And David, if you're listening, you can tell me if I'm wrong. I feel like we would hang out. I would come over, and he'd be like, "Yeah, let's play Resident Evil. Let's play Resident Evil 3." And be like, "Yeah, cool." And then he would just sit there for like an hour and a half and be done with it. Be like, "Cool, let's do it again. Let's just beat Resident Evil 3 again." And like he's doing that, I'm playing. I was playing like something else over here and stuff. But like he just got to the point where he was just fucking running Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, the fake Resident Evil 3, over and over again because he couldn't play the real Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil Code Veronica, because he didn't have a Dreamcast.
That's another memory for me, which this is an embarrassing thing to admit, but I will. I had a Dreamcast.
It's not embarrassing. I did too.
Oh, it's really not.
I had Resident Evil Code Veronica, and I, as a child, could not get past the very first zombie encounter. Like, in that you come out of that bunker, right? Mm-hmm. And you only have a knife. I tried to play that game so many times, and for some reason, I would die at that part every time, could never get further. So I still, to this day, do not know what happens in the rest of that game. And I kind of want them to remaster it so I can try to get out of that area.
Like, that's, there's been rumors lately that that might be one of their next ones, is a remake of Code Veronica, like in the vein of, 2, 3, and 4. But then they would have to do fucking 5 and 6. And
does anyone want that?
Gotta take the good with the bad.
Yeah. Well, so Resident Evil 1 and 2 on your PlayStation there, Mike.
Yeah, and then just like something that just disturbed me, but I played the ever living shit out of it, was Bloodborne. Because there's just some
that's definitely horror.
Yeah, there's some gross, spooky stuff in there, and man, there were some nights where I learned definitely not to mix a couple of things in Bloodborne, and the weird drugs my ex's brother was into. Those were two things that should never mix. So
that's actually one of those games that I really wish I could play. Because I like the theming and the vibe so much around it. But I am like, my brain is not built for like Souls games, so I know I would not enjoy it. But I really would wish one day they would make like an easy mode on Bloodborne so I could try it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one of those ones I'm never gonna play.
Oh, yeah. No, I had to like train myself to be like, this is how you play video games now.
Yeah.
To actually play it as much as I did, and then mushrooms and Bloodborne do not mix. That was bad. Yeah, that was a bad night.
Bad Mike.
Real bad night.
Bad Mike.
Yes, bad Mike indeed, because he was the one who gave me the mushrooms.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, Soulsborne, the only one that I've ever really been able to get into was Elden Ring. I did try playing Bloodborne, and the vibes were cool, but the gameplay, I just kept getting killed by the very first little doctor thing or whatever the fuck is in that room. And I was just like, you know what, I'll watch a playthrough if I want to.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to remake it. They're never going to remaster it. There's never going to be a sequel to Andy Cortez. Okay? He doesn't watch this, but I want him to. So, if anybody hears this, tag him and say that I'm talking shit on Bloodborne. And maybe he'll hate me. That'll be enough for me, really.
We just need to keep putting Andy Cortez as a tag on the YouTube video and all everything.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out eventually. And then we'll get him here.
Yeah.
And I'll stretch out on a Shea lounge instead of a bed.
The Andy Cortez smoke signals we're sending out right now.
Yeah.
We'll see him eventually.
They don't need to go too high because he's very short. Hi, puppy.
Damn.
I'm just kidding. Andy Cortez is like 7'4". It's weird.
Damn.
Yeah. I don't know why he's not playing in the NBA. I think just
Or
to
it's
make
because
it
he's too good looking.
fair. It's to make it fair for everybody else. Yeah, I get it.
There it
Actually,
is.
that makes sense. That makes sense. But speaking of PS4 horror things, or PS3, actually, I don't even know if Bloodborne was on the PS4 or the PS3. I think PS4,
I
right?
have no idea.
I just wanted to
PS4.
use that segue to PS4 horror things, and almost fairly close to Lost Media, stuck on the PS4. Any of y'all ever play PT? You remember PT?
Yes. Remember
E.T.
it, never played it.
Playable teaser for the now like very famously canceled Silent Hills game by Hideo Kojima over at Konami before they
Rest in
fucked on
peace.
him. Yeah, I
Rest in peace to
have.
the game, not to Hideo Kojima.
Oh
Hideo
yeah,
Kojima,
yeah.
because he's not dead.
No, no,
As
he's
of the
not dead.
taping this.
Maybe he is.
He's-
Maybe he's been dead this whole time, and he's just been. This has been a Kojima fucking bot or hologram, and we're all just in
Oh.
the next Kojima game.
Wow, that would be so like him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
PT playable teaser is I don't even know if that was ever officially what it was called or like playable teaser. I think that's what it stood for, or that's just what everybody called
Yeah,
it.
I don't know if that's just what people were calling it or
Yeah.
if the actual creators called it that.
Yeah, but I mean, like the splash screen at the beginning is PT, and yeah, that dropped just kind of I think just randomly. I want to say it was like during an E3 like week or something, and it dropped on the store, and nobody knew what
Yeah.
it was until people started beating the demo, and then you got the trailer for Silent Hills with Norman Reedus. But I've got my PlayStation 4 downstairs. The only reason I still have that is because PT is installed on it.
Well, people are selling their units like for a decent amount of money that have PT on them still.
Yeah, I need to make sure that it still works because I haven't had that thing connected for at least since 2020 when I got my PS5. But yeah, I remember I had that installed and then they got rid of it and I was like, oh fuck yeah, mine's still installed there. I should be able to still play it. But yeah, that game, talk about the tension and just feeling like you're followed the whole time, and then you find out that you've been followed the whole time
You have been.
Yeah.
by Lisa, just actually
Yep.
connected to your character.
Yeah.
And I think PT is a great example, which a lot of these games have this, but I think one of the key tenets of a great horror game is really good audio and sound, and that PT has such disturbing, creepy noises and sounds, and it really lends itself to that feeling like something's behind you, especially for headphones when you're playing it and you feel
Yeah.
like there's like literally something in the back of your brain. And I think a lot of those games, a lot of really good horror games have that sound where you're like, ooh, there's like I just can tell that it's just too scary because of how the noises are interacting with you.
Yeah, and oh god, I just had a thought about it. Yeah, the sound, like the mixing and everything, and just like the atmosphere. Yeah, creepy as fuck. What always creeps me out in video games is things that are supposed to be normal or start out normal and then become sinister, and the radio that is looping in PT, where the first
Yeah.
time you walk through and it's just like a normal, like it's a normal news story, but it's like about like a murder. But it's just like oh yeah, this happened. This is a news story, and the whole premise of PT is you're essentially walking through an endless loop of the same hallway, and every time you come back, it's more and more
Yeah.
fucking weird and crazy. And the radio announcer just keeps getting more and more sinister and angry at you, the player. And then there's like the phone that rings that you can answer and just a bunch of shit. And then the weird baby in the sink. That was odd.
Yeah.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Kojima's next project. Norman Reedus and the Funky
Bro.
Fetus.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, PT is like a fucking. Now, question, real quick, little side tangent. Do you both, yes or no, do you consider PT a game?
I would say yes. Like,
Yeah?
I think it depends on your definition of game, but it's it is a short experience that you play, so I would consider it a game. It was supposed to be like I try to think of it like if that got released on Steam or as a small like indie game, would people be like
Hmm.
satisfied with it? And I think they would. So
Oh
I
yeah,
would consider it a game.
Okay.
yeah.
So do you consider it a Silent Hill game? Specifically
Oh,
in
like
the
if
Silent Hill series. Like I know it
Hmm.
had this trailer for Silent Hills. It's supposed to be I guess an actual teaser for that game. We'll never know. But would you consider PT part of the Silent Hill franchise?
Hmm. It feels like one of those like non-canon like side story things
I
that
agree.
like it should be,
Hmm.
but it just never like it was never canonized. So it's just kind of there on the outside looking in, like an orphan on Christmas morning.
Damn. Just an orphan in the sink.
Yep. Right before Norman Reedus straps it to his chest and goes and delivers the mail.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like it's also it's I don't know. I can see I agree with what you're saying, Mike, but
Yep.
it's like it's hard. It's like depending on why you're asking because I feel like it's not really fair to compare it against a bunch of full
Yeah.
games. But I guess if you're saying
Yeah.
like spiritually it is included with those things, you can say yeah, it's like part of the family. It's like an offshoot sort of thing.
Like, so I ask, and this is just a personal thing that I've had in the back of my mind for a couple years now. There's a YouTube channel that I watch. Really love them. They're great. Triple Jump. If you've never watched any Triple Jump stuff, do it. They do a lot of ranked videos, a lot of really big
Okay.
ranked videos too. Like they ranked the first 151 Pokemon in a video. It's like 4 hours long.
Oh my
Love shit
gosh.
like that.
Jesus.
Ranked all the Batman games, all the Batman games.
There's a lot of
Um,
Batman games.
there fucking are. Um, but
Jesus.
they did a video that was ranking all of the Silent Hill games, and they
Uh-huh.
ranked PT number one. And I'm
Yeah, see,
like
I think that's not I don't think you should be allowed to do that.
like
No, it
Like
deserves an
it's an
honorable
honorable
mention.
mention.
that's
Yeah.
so what so what happened was they had the video, and they put out
Uh-huh.
that they were hiring a writer for some of these videos, and kind of the test was to kind of write the list. How would you like go and we already have the video, it's already done, so we're not like using your stuff, but we just want to see kind of how you do it. And I wrote a script for it and everything, and I wrote the list, and I put in the script PT is not a game. Like there was more to it. It was an honorable mention. PT
Yeah.
is a phenomenal thing, but it's a teaser. It's not a full-fledged
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
So in
It
my list,
can't.
I left it out.
Hmm.
But then in theirs
Yeah.
that was already made, PT was number one. So I don't know if that's
Huh.
like a just a personal thing for me, or if that's kind of a controversial, whether it's one or the other. But yeah,
Hmm.
PT has
Well, that's
always
like
just been in my brain like that.
if you're making a list of things like that. Like I think as a standalone thing, it makes sense. Like it isn't a full game. Maybe you call it a mini an experience or
Hmm.
something. Because I don't
Yeah.
think games have to be, a certain thing. Like they don't have to be 20 hours and a specific type of style. Like
Yeah,
there are a lot of really short little games that are amazing. But I do feel like
name
when you're
12.
comparing it, 12 small games. Okay, Inside is a good one. That one's short.
Well, shit. You know what? I'm gonna let
Damn
you
it.
have the other 11.
Thank you so
But sorry,
much.
keep going.
It's not really fair to compare it like that. Like it just doesn't really make sense. It's not a even playing field.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like what
I
it
also feel
does,
like
it does well,
because it
but
was
it does,
yeah,
that it was
because
it
it's
was
never
that idea.
finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think one of the things with horror is that it's really easy to do in short little pieces because you don't have to
Hmm.
explain anything, you don't have to lead to anything. So of course it's going to make an impact, but that's not really fair to compare a 20-minute hour thing to somebody who had to maintain horror for 10, 12, whatever
Yeah.
hours because
Yeah.
that is so much easier to do on a short scale. Like, of course, everyone's going to remember it more fondly because it never had time to go anywhere other than scary.
Yeah, it just had the thing building the dread inside of you, and the tension and the terror, and then it ends. Like, you're like, oh shit, that's, that entire thing was crazy, and then you look and it's like, oh, I played for 20 minutes and
Yeah.
got through it, and you can replay it. Obviously, you can have the experience, and you can like kind of look at other stuff. That's great, but that was just for me. That was like a personal thing where I was just like, I wouldn't count that on like that type of list. Is it a game? Yeah, that's the wrong question. It's it's an experience that you play. It's a game.
Yeah.
But putting it in the Silent Hill, you know, the pantheon of Silent Hill games, and especially like as number one because it's incredible reviews and everything, and it's a great experience. I thought I thought was a bit odd, but that's why they have 1 million subscribers and we have 13, and
Well,
We're getting there.
they're better than us.
any list is like pretty questionable to me. All of those list channels, like Watch Mojo or anybody who makes lists, I find that they're so like set on making a popular answer that I find most of the lists like not very accurate, or they don't
Mhm.
feel like a person made them. It just made like they're like, oh, we have to put this thing at the top. Like PT always makes it really top of the list for a lot of things, and I feel like almost people just put it there because they expect people wanting it to be there.
Yeah, I think the
Oh,
way that Triple Jump does it is like a lot of it is based on like reviews. So it's not
Yeah.
like a, hey, these are our favorite ones. It's like we went through the entire series, went to Metacritic and OpenCritic, and if we didn't have a lot there, we found as much as we could about like reviews, and we calculated it, and that's where this goes. And PT, with it being that very short, snappy experience that was just phenomenal. Not to take anything away from it, the reviews are very very high for the reviews that came out for
Yeah.
it. They're like, people are like, oh yeah, shit, go play this, definitely play this, because then now we're
Mhm.
excited for another game that's going to come out in the future that never came out. But
Definitely.
yeah, once again, that's just
I have
that's
one that
personal thing.
I'm curious about if you guys would consider a horror game, which is BioShock.
oh,
Actually, what I was going to ask next is it definitely ties into that, is what are some kind of memories that you have that are like maybe scary game memories from not necessarily horror games, because mine is from BioShock, which we can argue whether or not it is a horror game because it's definitely got fucking horror vibes and the overall aesthetic and the atmosphere and the storyline. Yeah, gameplay is very very action heavy, and it's kind of weird stuff, but I think one of the biggest jump scares that I've ever gotten in a non traditional horror game is close to, I think it's close to the end of the first BioShock, and this isn't like a story bit or anything, but you're walking through kind of like an area. You're walking through a hallway, and the lights are like flickering on and off. And as you're walking through, there's dead bodies, and you just see more and more. And the light keeps flickering on and off while you're waiting for someone to jump out and or something to happen. And lights flicker on and off, and then they come back, and all the dead bodies have come up, and they start attacking you. And I just lost my shit.
oh.
Yeah.
And
There are so many scary moments in BioShock.
yeah. So, do you consider that a horror game?
Mm, I not really.
Yeah.
Like it's a spooky action game for sure, but I wouldn't call it a horror game.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say if any of them lean more towards horror, it would be the first one.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think like obviously Infinite, I don't really get any horror vibes at all
Yeah.
from.
No, no.
But I do feel like one like it's very close to horror for me. Like I would probably give it like a horror tag. Like maybe it's action horror or something. Like it's like
Yeah.
a multi-genre thing because
Yeah.
I feel like it has all of the things that like a good horror game has, which is like it's got a really spooky environment
Hmm.
where you don't have a lot of resources, you're having to make really close calls, things are constantly trying to kill you.
Until you
And
get to the end and you have a maxed out wrench and electric powers. You just two shot
until the
everything.
end, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
Especially at the beginning, you like don't know where you are. There's like everyone's dead.
Yeah.
There's creepy monsters with giant drill arms trying to kill you, and little creepy children with their souls missing, glowing, and you're like, "Oh, what the hell did I get myself into?"
And I think like the setup for BioShock, the original, is obviously like you're in the plane, you've got a note and a picture, and the plane goes down, and now
Hmm.
you're just on this island, and you go into this thing and you go underwater, and like up until that point, everything just seems like, oh yeah, I'm just a dude on a plane, and now, oh no, I'm going into like this underwater thing, like this
Yeah.
underwater area that's completely cut off from the rest of the world. And as you
Ugh.
explore more and more and more, you see more, shit that's like, oh, that's not normal. That's weird. And now you see all these people that are obviously fucking crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, I would definitely lean more towards Bioshock, the first one being more horror. I never played two because
I didn't either.
I didn't
And
really have
then
an
die.
interest in it. It sounds bad, but I didn't have an interest in going back to Rapture after the events of one. Not because I didn't like it, but because I'm like, okay, that was my Rapture experience.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I didn't have any questions that I felt like I needed answered
Yeah,
after BioShock 1. I was like, that's good, I'm done.
you're like, yeah, I've got my self-contained story there. Cool. If you want to expand on the lore, fine. That's good. I'm not too interested. But then, I did play Bioshock Infinite for the first time. I think last year or the year before. Kind of going back to the the full edition or whatever, the ultimate. I don't know. I think like the remastered or whatever. But yeah, definitely no horror vibes on that one. Hey, great game. I liked it. I liked Infinite a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, any horror moments or scary moments that popped out in non-horror games that you guys can think of?
Good question.
For me, it was in Halo when you first encounter the flood, those
Okay.
Ooh,
parasite.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was just so scary
Yeah.
because like you're like it just kind of comes out of nowhere, like just looking around like what the hell's going on, and then all of a sudden, flood.
Yeah,
And it
that's a
is
good one.
a flood
Yeah,
of this weird thing. You've been fighting this one alien race the entire time. You know your
yeah.
enemy, and all of a sudden you've got this other thing that's just taking over whatever it sees. Yeah.
Cut to high school Mike whacked out of his mind on Percocet after he had his wisdom teeth out, playing playing Halo, and that
Yeah.
shit happens. Oh,
There was two that came to mind for me. One was a lot of things that happen in Mass Effect. Like I wouldn't consider Mass Effect trilogy
Yeah.
horror, but there's a lot of really spooky things that happen with what are the things? I can't remember what those things are called. The Geth, I guess.
There's the Geth are
And
the robots.
yeah, both of
I
them are
yeah
scary.
yeah. I
And
thought of Mass Effect 2, where you first see the husks.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. Yeah. That's pretty scary. And then the other one, um, which this is more on me than the game, but when I played Gone Home for the first time, I didn't know what I was playing. Like someone had just
Hmm.
recommended it to me, and you like walk into that house. Are you guys familiar with Gone Home? Have you
Yeah.
played it?
Yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
played it,
yeah.
but I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
yeah.
So it's kind of just like a walking simulator, but you walk into this like dark abandoned house at night, and you're like looking through all this stuff, but it's like lightning and thundering, and it's dark, and like the lights keep going out because it's just like a stormy night. And I thought for sure when I was playing that something was gonna jump out at me
Mm.
or anything was gonna happen because I didn't have any context for what the game was. So I was like, oh, I played that whole game with like my hands clenched, and anytime the lightning
Oh.
or the thunder would crash, I'd be like, oh, okay, it's gonna be okay. And then
Yeah.
like I get to the end and it's just like a really bad / heartwarming story about the sister and like
You're waiting
a
for shit to
family.
pop off the whole time, and you get to the credits, and you're like,
Yeah, and I was like, oh,
Where
that
is it?
wasn't scary at all. I feel like I like burned calories playing that game because I was like so tense the whole time, only for it to have like a very like not scary moment at all in the
just like
entire
a
game.
sad, just kind of a sad game.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Mike, you got any more? Any more that pop into your head?
Man. In the first Destiny, like when you first start the game up, just like, hey, you gotta go through this narrow, dark corridor, and your flashlight's kind of not working. Have fun. I'm just like, what? And then it pops back on, and there's something attempting to eat my face. So I'm just like, Jesus.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. Is that? I'm trying to think of other ones. Because yeah, usually I steer pretty clear of horror,
Mm-hmm.
just because. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
what I got right
think of,
now.
I think of Fallout 4. Fallout 4. Is it 4 or 3? I think it's 4. Where you find the Dunwich Horrors building, or Dunwich Borers,
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's 4. Yeah, that
and
Jesus.
it's like straight up just eldritch horror shit. And the further you go into it, you start seeing things, and you start seeing
Yeah.
like flashbacks to all this shit. And then you get to the bottom, there's like a giant fucking dead creature or something. Like yeah,
Yeah. Oh God,
Fallout 4 has some horror shit. Fallout in general has some horror shit.
it does.
You know, just fuck, Deathclaws are scary. But we're kind of winding down here. Before we wrap up, I kind of asked our our small but growing audience, which you can be a part of. Follow us on Twitter or any podcast service, including YouTube. But I kind of went out and I asked. Yeah, right now. Stop. Pause. Right now.
Do it.
Pause. Do
No,
it.
don't pause. Don't pause. You
Yeah,
can
no,
do,
keep
you
going.
can
We'll
do two
talk
things
to you.
at
We'll
once.
talk to you while you do it. Yeah, just go to
Yeah. We'll talk
Press
through
it.
this.
youtube.com/@storymotors_pod. Drop a sub there. It's free. You know, and then go to Twitter.
Hit the notification bell.
Yeah, hit that notification bell so you know when we drop an episode, which is every Thursday at 8 a.m. Mountain. But still, you know, maybe I fuck up one day. Maybe it goes up early. Maybe we post something else. Maybe I did a whole 4-hour playthrough of the Demon School demo last week. Speaking of, you know, quasi horror games, and I posted that on YouTube. I did. It wasn't our YouTube. It was my own personal one. Whatever. Follow us on Twitter @StoryMotorsPod.
If you follow because of this episode, I will send you one of my favorite Alan Wake gifts, a personalized to you. So just let me know, and I will send you one.
Boom.
There we go.
That's a promise.
Yep.
That is a promise. Yeah, I asked, and our good friend Verum Dex, I said, hey, share your best, scariest, most intense horror moments in your gaming history. We'll chat about it. And he said the time that I almost gave him a heart attack on his stream, and Dead Space 1, just all of it. I think Dead Space 1 is another, it's another just tension horror. That's quality horror, classic horror.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I had to stop playing because the noises are so gross.
Yeah.
Like, there's always like a crunching and like gurgling happening, and I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I don't
It
need
is just
this.
so gross.
This is not what I signed up for. I mean, it was, but I didn't know it. And then our good friend OM Jesus said, Fear 1 is what got me into horror because it was the scariest game I ever played. It was like facing my fears, and ever since then, I can watch and play scary stuff. He's able to.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Fear is a game that I never got into, but I like kind of learning more and more about it, and the idea of it, and kind of the just if I remember correctly, there's a little ghost girl that just shows up and can fuck with you at any time, but it's
Yeah.
and you can't do anything about
Yeah.
it. You're just like, oh, okay, I guess this is happening.
Yep.
Yeah, but I have a clip here. I believe we have it up on the screen. Can you guys
Yep.
still see my screen here?
I can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Perfect. And I hope that the audio works on the recording here. So, what Verum Dex was referring to is one night on his stream, he was playing a scary game. It was kind of a new game. It was a demo called Ludo. I don't remember shit about it, about the game itself. But Dex, at Verum Dex on Twitch, he has like audio prompts that you can do as a viewer. And he was playing this game, and I, as a good friend, noticed that he was very stressed, and I played just a very soft, serene, subtle audio clip. And if
Good.
this blows out eardrums, I apologize. But this was Verum Dex playing Ludo.
Fuck out of the oldies.
Oh god.
Yeah,
You gave him a heart attack.
you just said exactly what he said.
Alright, looks like
It's amazing.
And then he stopped playing the game. So
Ah,
I think he switched over to like Kingdom
Please.
Hearts or something. But yeah, that's our good friend Verum Dex. Go follow him on Twitch. He's a
Yeah,
great
go follow
human.
Verum as well.
Yeah,
yeah, he's great.
but yeah, let's start getting out of here. Madeline, where once again can people find you?
Yeah, I'm MadExposure everywhere, so you can find me on Twitch. I stream almost every Wednesday. I'm also on Instagram. I'm a photographer, so if you want to look at my photos, it's on Instagram at MadExposure. And then most of my gaming and fun stuff is on Twitter at MadExposure. Or I sometimes make TikToks like every 2 months. And I make them about Until Dawn. So that's what most of my are Alan Wake. Those are most
Yeah.
of my TikToks.
Now, I meant to ask earlier, are you excited for the PS5 remaster, or do you think that it's fucking not needed?
So I am curious about the PS5 remaster of Until Dawn, only because I've read that they're adding some other like branching story stuff or new
Okay.
dialogue options. I don't know if that's true because I haven't seen it from like a reputable source. I feel like
Yeah.
it's all been like rumory things.
Yeah.
If that's true, I will definitely be very excited about that. Like graphics wise, it honestly doesn't look like that much upgraded to me when they were showing the
almost
comparisons.
looks-
I feel like
Worse.
it looks worse some of the time. Yeah.
Like it almost looks worse because it's better quality. If that makes sense. Like it brings it more into the uncanny valley.
So I'm so interested to see like how it actually looks
Yeah.
when we get a little bit more of the gameplay parts that are being shown, because so far they've only shown us the cutscenes.
Yeah.
And maybe I do think like if they improve the controls, that will be great, because Until Dawn kind of handles like RE1 a little bit. Like
Yeah,
it's very
kinda handles like
tanky.
ass. Yeah.
Yeah. So if even if the graphics are the same but the controls of the characters are better, that would make a world of difference. I think to like the quality of moving around in the game. And then yeah, if they add some other dialogue choices, and some like little tweaks to have more options, I think that would also be great. I've probably played Until Dawn like myself with other people probably like 20 plus times, so I've pretty much seen like everything there is to see in that game. So I would love some new stuff. I'm probably honestly gonna still buy it no matter what, because it is like my favorite game.
Yeah.
That's I'm just a video game mark. The Remedy got me too. I bought the collector's edition of Alan Wake 2.
Oh yeah.
And
What was that,
I
like
also
$200 the big one?
yes.
Yeah.
And I also got my hands on one of the thermoses. So
Oh, lucky.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm very patiently awaiting that to be delivered to my house. But everyone should play Alan Wake 2 right now if you haven't played it yet.
After you sub,
Play it.
Go play Alan Wake
Yeah.
2. Yeah.
Such a good game. I also think it's scary, but it's not so scary. Like, if you're like, okay, I don't mind a little bit of scariness, you could do it. Like, Mike, I think you could get into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if it
I
scares
remember
you,
watching
you can...
I watched the beginning of Alan Wake 2 like 5 times from different streamers, and I just remember the old guy's dong.
Yeah, there's full frontal male
Full
nudity
dong.
in the beginning.
Yeah, so if you're looking for a game with full dong, full hog,
There it is.
When they introduced the photo mode recently, I saw a bunch of people just went straight to that
Yep.
scene and were taking photos.
just went straight to
That
that scene and
nude
just
man.
bumped up the brightness and the exposure.
Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put this. I think I posted it in the corner earlier in this episode, and I'm saying it out loud now because if I didn't, you can yell at me. You were recently, well, not really recently, but quote unquote recently, you were on an episode of Murders with Mertens, their good friend Joe
Sure
Merton,
was.
and talking about horror movies, talking about specifically Oculus. So check
Yes.
that episode out, and maybe I'll be on a future episode of that show. I will. We're recording on Thursday, so
Yay!
yeah.
Can you say what you're going to talk about? Oh, you should probably keep it a secret.
Yeah, I mean, I
Tell
don't.
me after.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite horror movies. But
I'm
as
so
you've
excited.
probably heard here, I'm not a big horror person. So,
Still going to be talking about Maximum Overdrive.
yep.
I think they already did a Maximum Overdrive episode, actually.
They're revisiting it.
We're gonna be
Oh,
we're gonna be watching Hardcore Henry, that first person game or movie that made everybody sick.
Game is right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, Mike, how are you doing with your stream setup? I know you got everything moved. Still
Yep.
doing the updates.
Wireless is terrible, so I've got to upgrade both in the gaming PC and the streaming PC. So that's going to be like $50 at Newegg, and then
Fair.
a couple hours at home. But then, yeah, once that's done, I'll be up and probably streaming some more just single player games, probably once a week, just because don't have as much time as I used to.
That's fair.
You know?
That's fair.
I feel that.
At Nerding for Beginners or at Nerding for Intermediates. We'll figure that out at some point.
It's probably just going to be Nerding for Beginners. I'm too lazy to change the name.
That's fair. That is fair.
Yep.
Yeah, and I stream occasionally. Yeah, last week I did the stream. I played the Demon School demo for Steam Next Fest from Necrosoft Games. And I'm still tagging them on Twitter because I fucking love that game and I want them to know that I love it.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, if
It
you're
looked really
listening
cool
or
when you were
watching,
playing
like
it.
at Necrosoft Games and be like, hey, Story Motors Pod fucking loves Demon School. Do you want to be on there and talk to them? Because they would love it.
Yeah.
We would. I don't know if they would love it. They'd be like, no, fuck those two dorks. But I would be happy.
Oh, they would love it.
Yeah. But
We'd
Demon
have so
School,
much
yeah.
fun.
Fuck yeah, that demo, cool as shit. I cannot wait for that game, September 13th. Definitely heavily influenced by the Persona games, which I've heard of, I guess. But with some serious horror vibes and some creepy ass imagery. I did the boss fight in the demo, and it was a giant skull and like a giant skeleton. And then at some points, you would do enough damage to it where the head would crack open and the brain would plop out, and then an eyeball would plop out. And then you had to attack the eyeball to do damage. It was fucking great.
That's so cool.
But yeah, that entire demo is up on my YouTube channel at Mr_Hawks182, I think. I don't know. But our YouTube channel here is at Story Motors Pod, or you can just search for Story Motors Podcast, and I think we're the only ones that pull up now. I think there were some other Story Motors, but they stopped posting 12 years ago. So
Hell
it's
yeah.
ours now. Manifest Destiny! Yeah, give us a follow on here on your favorite streaming or podcast services. If we're not where you want us to be, please let us know. I know that I have a buddy who listens to us, and he listens on Podcast Addict, so I found out that we are on there. That's cool.
All right.
That's a platform, I guess.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, follow Madeline. Thank you so much for joining us today. You're
Thanks,
Thanks for
incredible.
having me. It was so fun talking to you guys.
Yeah, maybe fucking play all of the Alan Wake 2 DLC again, and then we can talk about that at some point. If that was down the line. Did all of it come out? No, or just the first part?
It's the first one. So
Okay.
the first DLC is 3 episodes of a fictional television show called Night Springs, which is essentially like the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, I
You
remember
play
seeing
3
that in
episodes of that
Control
TV show.
too. So yeah,
And then the next one is supposed to come out later this year, I think.
Okay. Yeah, when that comes out and you're 100%, you've got all the achievements and or trophies for Alan Wake 2, come back on, we will talk about that then. And maybe at that point I will have started the game.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Yeah. So, yeah, let me pop on to the outro music here, and we will say goodbye, and we will see you all next week with a new topic that we haven't decided yet.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure something out. We'll put up some thumbs up, see if we get... No balloons. I didn't get any balloons. What the fuck? Oh, he's got an iPad, so he can...
Yeah!
he gets overlays. Thank you, everybody. See you next week.